Welcome to Pop-O-Holics, a show about hot takes, hotter than hot, tasty pancakes. I'm your host, Christian Katie, and I'm looking around, and looks like I'm only joined by one of my best friends.
Oh, hey, how's it going, guys? Brian Dupree here. We are unfortunately not joined by Chris Conkling this week. He is sorely missed.
He's indisposed, as it were. Unavailable.
He's not indisposed. He's just unavailable.
I think he's mad at me because we released Space Jam, A New Legacy. First of all, we made him watch that movie. That was our first mistake.
Right.
That was our main review, and you can check that video out on YouTube and check out the podcast version down below if you're watching on the YouTube or in the show notes on your favorite podcast player. Go ahead and subscribe and check that video out. We thought we had lost that episode. I was certain that I wasn't recording anybody's audio, but because we were doing video and audio at the same time, I just combined. I had pieces on both, and so we made it work. So I was very excited that came out. Jihad Choate, great guest on the last ep.
Oh yeah, we always have a great time with him. He needs to come around more frequently. I think he'll be on maybe when we cover the Suicide Squad potentially later this year. So definitely looking forward to that, assuming we do cover it. But yeah, I just want to go ahead and praise you here, Christian. Christian really makes this show sound better than much more professional podcasts that have way more viewers. And it's truly incredible that we've come this far without losing an episode and still haven't. So shout out to you, man.
Saved it.
It's
hey, ace
amazing.
out of the back pocket. But Chris was so heartbroken because we thought we had lost the episode up until like a couple days before release.
Chris literally said, I would not record another Space Jam episode. I think he goes, that's a near quote.
He said it so sad too. He was like, I can't do it.
Just defeated.
He was so defeated. All right. Ooh, there goes my video again. Man, so much for getting a separate webcam. Brian, what are we talking about today? What is this episode? I'm going to have you get it off me so I can fix this.
So this is just a weekly upload. So as usual, we start off with Brian's Wacky News Corner and move into our quick hits with what we've been consuming and a little bit of community feedback.
And we really hope that Christian's camera doesn't decide to focus on nothing. It just decides that it can't focus on anything.
Fingers crossed.
That's for the if you're listening to the audio version, we do our weekly upload news section on YouTube. If you want our full list of stuff, like our video stuff, subscribe. If you want the full audio content, please follow the link down below and subscribe to the podcast. But let's delay no further. We got some great news stuff to get into. We got some legal disputes with Disney. We've got some voice acting news, Netflix, and some indie game news. And then there's some cool movies coming out. So we're going to delay no further. Let's start with Brian's Wacky News Corner.
So as Christian mentioned, we are starting heavy in the litigation news. So we covered Black Widow recently, which was one of the first big Marvel movies to release day and date on Disney Plus for the $30 PVOD streaming model, as well as in theaters. And Scarlett Johansson has just sued Disney for a breach of contract around this, concerning the profits that, obviously she sided with the intention of getting that are heavily tied to theatrical profits and gross. So it was announced this lawsuit happened and what it was about. Disney comes back with honestly a pretty embarrassing statement from Disney, where they not only outed how much she was paid already, but they also claimed she was being insensitive to the COVID-19 pandemic. And just to speak on this for a second, Disney opened their doors as soon as possible in Florida when our governor allowed it. Speaking of companies concerned with COVID-19, but that's a whole different story. So this has been a big back and forth where now Scarlett Johansson's agent, Brian Lord, has issued a statement that I'll read partially here, saying they have shamelessly and falsely accused Ms. Johansson of being insensitive to the global COVID pandemic in an attempt to make her appear to be someone they and I know she isn't. Scarlett has been Disney's partner on 9 movies, which have earned Disney and its shareholders billions. The company included her salary in their press statement in an attempt to weaponize her success as an artist and businesswoman, as if that were something she should be ashamed of. And it goes on. So a bit of a kind of Twitter battle happening between Scarlett Johansson's representatives and Disney right now. I got to imagine this is going to be relatively clear cut in the contract, but I really can't say. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, though, because you already now have people like um, Emma Stone considering doing something similar for Cruella in the way that was released. So nothing official there, but there are just rumors circling about that. How do you feel about this, Christian?
Can we confirm that Black Widow, played by Scarlett Johansson, will not be showing up further in any Disney properties? Does this pretty much seal that in?
Well, I think it depends on the settlement, I would imagine, but it's looking less and less likely. Yeah.
We're always trying to find the MCU connections to everything. That's what we care
Of
about.
course.
No, clearly Scarlett Johansson's in the right, and it's it's pretty shitty of Disney. This is not well played. This is probably going to backfire as much as the James Gunn firing, if not more so, because as their stock prices are raising and they've had successes, and they're clearly breaching a contract of some sort, because Scarlett Johansson's not a dum-dum, and her lawyers aren't dum-dums. So
going up against Disney, which clearly has insane legal teams.
Insane. They could appeal this thing into the netherverse, or into the multiverse more appropriately. But so they clearly think that they can get a good settlement out of this, like, pretty instantly. If Disney thought they could fight it, they would fight the crap out of it, and it would never, it would just go on infinitely, because they have lots of big mouse money. My boy Andrew Yang stepping up and saying something. That was fun to see.
I saw that as well. Yeah, interesting.
It's too bad. He also did not do anything in the Democratic primary, and did not even place in like the top 4 in the New York run. But hey, he's got a great take on this. He's on Team ScarJo, and so I can officially say so are we at the Pop-O-Holics. That's an easy one to pick out. I wish them the best of luck. I hope all of them sue Disney into oblivion so they stop screwing over their talent.
Yeah, so we will definitely be talking about this as things unfold. I'm sure it's going to be many months before anything gets officially resolved. But moving on, as Christian also mentioned earlier, some voice acting news. So Winston Duke, who was a minor role in Black Panther, as well as some of the later MCU movies, but was a starring role in Jordan Peele's Us, which we covered as well, has been cast to voice Bruce Wayne in the new Batman Unburied podcast from producer David S. Goyer. So he's also joined by Jason Isaacs, who is most well known from playing Lucius Malfoy in the Harry Potter movies. So well-known actor there as well. The tagline for this show is, when audiences meet Bruce Wayne, he is a forensic pathologist working in the bowels of Gotham Hospital and tasked with examining the victims of the Harvester, a gruesome serial killer preying on Gotham citizens. Not only will the superhero be forced to face his own mental demons, but he will also have to overcome them in order to save the citizens of Gotham as his alter ego, Batman. So this just sounds awesome, and I'm completely here for it already, just conceptually. This is directed by Alex Kemp and written by Eric Carrasco, Saladin Ahmed, and Rebecca Klingel, who are also executive producers, and also written by co-executive producer Graham Westerson. So we covered the podcast that was done for the Wolverine on this show previously. So we are not completely new to comic to podcast leaps. I was a huge fan of the Wolverine show. Both seasons I thought were really well done, even though I'm not generally a big fan of audiobooks as much. But bring Batman involved, bring this cast. I'm super excited about this. Christian, you had, when I brought this news up in our notes, asked if this meant that Batman could potentially be Black. And I'm not sure how common or uncommon it is for people of color to voice white characters or vice versa. I'm sure it's happened, but it'll be interesting to see. So casting a Black Batman obviously leaves the door open for the character to be Black as well. So yeah, I'm super excited for this. Do you, will you tune in for this?
Yeah, they kind of can go either way with it. That was the most interesting question I had just based off of the little bit of news that we have, because a lot of it's, there's not a whole lot in this article other than like the basic plot and stuff. Right. So yeah, I was like looking for it. I'm like, well, that'd be interesting. I think that you would actually 10 years ago assume that it would actually, you wouldn't even question it. You're like, oh, they just wanted like a, Winston Duke has a very like baritone voice. They just want something like masculine and stuff. And now in 2021, you go, wow, they could actually go some interesting places with where Batman is, because Batman historically, Chris is the Batman guru on this podcast, but I don't know of any famous arcs where he's not white, right?
I don't know of any personally. It may have been done in one-offs, but yeah, definitely historically portrayed as white character.
I do want to mention this is a Spotify exclusive. So this is part of, if you remember the Wolverine, that was part of Stitcher trying to do what Spotify is doing, where they just want to be the landing place. But Stitcher, here's the difference. Stitcher you had to pay for. Spotify's free. It's just go to Spotify and where to play some ads. So I think it's a much more well-supported model, and Spotify already dominates music streaming for the most part worldwide. So good play by them. I think more stuff is what they need to do to succeed in the podcast space.
And to that point, I appreciate you bringing that up. Other ones to expect in the future are podcasts about Wonder Woman, Lois Lane, Catwoman, Riddler, and Batgirl. So who knows if all of that will come to fruition, but DC and Spotify have plans. So pretty exciting stuff there. So yeah, moving on, we've got a Netflix live action Pokemon series in the works from Lucifer's Joe Henderson. So I've never seen Lucifer, but I know it's a show that has kind of a huge cult following. I think it's going into its last season right now. This project is supposed to be in the same vein as 2019's Detective Pikachu, which I actually really enjoyed for what it was. I thought the animation was great. Seeing the Pokemon rendered in 3D this way was really exciting. And they did some fun and funny stuff with the characters. So conceptually, this is probably going to be a kid's show, of course. But I think it's a cool idea. Would you ever see yourself? I know you're going to be talking about some Pokemon stuff a little bit later. So right now is like the optimal time for you to potentially be interested in this, maybe.
No, not really. I didn't even make it.
I figured not.
I didn't even make it through the Pikachu one. I am going to discuss exclusively on the audio podcast feed when we get to our what we've been consuming. I'm going to talk about Pokemon Unite, which is the new free MOBA on Switch coming to mobile later this year. But I'm like I liked Pokemon a lot when I was a kid. I was a big Pokemon head, as they say. It's a very famous saying, Pokemon heads. And I watched the TV show. I had the cards. I played Snap and all the red, blue, fire, ice, whatever it was for several years. And then I just dropped off because it's for children, and it never was like, well, we'll still have the children's stuff, but here's maybe where we go a little bit deeper into humanity. Not necessarily dark or gritty. I don't want Pikachu like getting stabbed in the chest. Like I don't need that, but there's really in Pokemon lore and characters, there's nothing adult themed about pretty much any of it. I think the most adult thing to happen is at the end of that one movie with Mewtwo. I think it's the most dramatic moment that's ever happened.
Absolute tearjerker. Yeah.
Yeah, that might be the peak drama that Pokemon has had. I watched a little bit of the Pokemon movie and I was like, yeah, it's not for me. Maybe we'll have kids. Maybe. We'll see.
There you go.
But other than that, no. I'm excited, though, that they're doing this stuff. In this report, too, they brought up that they're also doing live action of, like, Cowboy Bebop and One Piece and stuff.
Yes.
That's like teenage, young adult anime that's getting a live action reboot. Much more excited about that stuff.
Sure. So, yeah, that is a new Pokemon live action series coming from Joe Henderson. All right, last piece of news proper, which I don't know if this is exciting or not. I'm going to lean on you a little bit here, Christian, but That's No Moon Entertainment has just been formed, a new indie development studio from game industry veterans from Naughty Dog, Electronic Arts, Infinity Ward, and more. So specifically, the CEO is going to be Michael Moonbauer, former head of PlayStation's Visual Arts Group. They also have Tina Kowaleski, who's the executive VP of Giant Squid and formerly the director of product entertainment at Sony's Santa Monica studio. She'll be chief strategy officer. I apologize about pronunciation here. Nick Canonelos, former senior developer director at EA, is the COO, and Barry Genova, formerly engineering lead at Bungie, as well as George Allison, who headed finance for PlayStation's global services division. So a bunch of established industry folks coming in with a $100 million investment from a South South Korean developer called Smilegate, who created the Crossfire first-person shooter series. I'm not particularly familiar with this group, but $100 million sounds like a nice little start for a new studio.
It is a nice little start. Oh my god, my video did it again. Why does it keep...
did.
It did that. Let me fix that. There you go. You know,
This is 4 AAA titles as well. That is the goal.
Yeah, it's a nice little start. There is much more, like, I believe...
That sounds like not enough for even a game, you're thinking?
Not of like, so Last of Us, I believe, has a budget of somewhere between $200 and $400 million. They are as expensive as the biggest movies. And from what it sounds like,
So before you go further, Jacob Minkoff, who was former game designer on Last of Us, is going to be game director for this company as well.
Right.
I did not mention.
Right. A real who's who of people behind the scenes on some of the biggest, very important, a lot of this single player, like, campaign story focused content. So this is a great start. They'll end up getting more money eventually. I'm sure they'll draw more investment as soon as they can show kind of the beginnings of a viable product. It is a great start.
Some ideas.
It means that they have a platform to operate for a couple years. We won't see the fruits of this anytime soon unless they make something really small, because game development is quite a long ways, and it's not like, from what I was reading, it's not like Sony or Microsoft where they have platforms in which you can kind of speed up development because you have assets and you have engines and stuff like that. These people are going to be starting from scratch. Now, they may use Unreal or something like that, which will help, but still, like a AAA game starting from scratch, new IP or something, that's 4 to 6 years. That all being said, people who are worried about games like what I'm going to talk about with Pokemon, about mobile games, multiplayer focused games, that kind of thing, and story-based games going away. This is great news for people who are worried about that, because clearly they're focused on telling engaging stories and putting the budget behind it to make it like a full AAA experience. All this is great stuff. All those companies that they came from are good in the fact that they're not under the thumb of a larger company, like Tencent, and or Sony or Microsoft. Sony does invest a lot in campaign stuff, but EA, Microsoft, other ones that clearly are just like, we need Fortnite. Whatever is going to be as big as Fortnite. Well, not just staples, but like, make me a game that it's the only thing that most people play, and that's what everybody's chasing. And obviously when you're chasing something that broad, but yet that specific, in some ways, it doesn't really lead to, hey, I had an idea for how someone could experience it in a game or engage in a story or transport to a new world. You're just kind of like,
new ground's not being broken as often.
Yeah, how can we sell kids costumes? How can we make
and
emotes?
in-game purchases specifically?
Yeah, how can we make emotes? We need something with a lot of emotes in it. And I imagine a lot of these people were like, hey, I'm a very well-established creator, and I want to make like art that I like am proud of. This is a cool way to go, and they've got the top brass to do it. So I'm excited. In 4 to 6 years, I'll be 38 by the time I play the first game.
Yeah. Hopefully the podcast is still going. We'll keep you guys up to date on that. So moving on to some stuff that's coming out this week. We have got a bunch. And the first one, Christian, this is for you. I know you like cooking shows. And we have coming to Netflix this Wednesday, Cooking with Paris.
Now, Paris as in Paris Hilton?
Oh, yes.
Oh, no.
So
I can
speaking
tell you
of companies reaching back into former IP and bringing it back anew, Paris Hilton has reemerged for a new reality TV show where she's cooking with celebrity friends, or I should say attempting to cook. It very much seems like...
Really? I thought that she had spent the last decade going to French culinary school. Yeah. No, it's going to be her being like, what do you mean? You want me to... Juliet. That's a Juliet.
Yeah, she in the ad she asks Siri what a zest lemon is. So it's gonna be a bunch of that. But I don't know if you're gonna end up watching this show. It's gonna pop up on Netflix. So I'm hopeful. I'm holding out. Maybe it's gonna be a hidden gem for you.
My fiance might watch it.
This is what I was thinking. So you might get roped in. Cooking with Paris. Tune in for Christian's opinions on that next week.
No one tell my fiance that this show exists, please. Thank you.
All right, I am texting her now. Cool.
Please don't.
So that's Cooking with Paris. That's going to come to Netflix this Wednesday. On Thursday, we have another pseudo talk show type of thing with Heart to Heart on Peacock. So yeah, cheesy title. And this is Kevin Hart doing long form talks with celebrity friends. So I'm not sure.
And for listeners
and
and viewers, it's Kevin Hart. So it's Hart, as in his last name.
Yeah, they spell it differently.
Bump Hart.
Because it's intimate and passionate discussions that
and his last name is Hart.
Yes, that's the gimmick. Just like Cooking with Paris, we've got Heart to Heart. Very clever titles here. This show, it's on Peacock, which I don't have, so I'm probably not going to watch this. But if you like these sorts of long form discussion shows, this seems like it might be similar to a podcast in some ways, just kind of two celebrities hanging out. And if you like Kevin Hart, this is probably going to be an easy sell for you if you still have Peacock or access to it through NBC.
That's what's been hard to engage with some of this stuff. Like, I know the My Guest Needs No Introduction with Letterman, and then you got Off Camera with Sam Harris, which I believe was like a YouTube thing first. I've tried to watch these, and then it's like, I need to be able to listen on the go. Luckily, with the Netflix app on iOS, you can just play the audio. But I think these things, they need to be available in audio only format, in my opinion, unless they're doing something. My next guest, the David Letterman one on Netflix, has elevated visual.
They go back and forth to different scenes and stuff, so there's something you're getting out of it. But I definitely agree that the bulk of it you can just get out of listening.
Sure.
So yeah, that's Heart to Heart. That'll be coming to Peacock this Thursday. Another show that's coming to Apple TV Plus that I am super excited about. This is called Mr. Corman. So this is written and directed by Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who we are pretty big fans of on the podcast. And the summary for the show is the days and nights of fifth grade teacher Josh Corman as he struggles with anxiety, loneliness, forfeited dreams of a music career, and the sinking suspicion that he sucks as a person. So I am not familiar with Joseph Gordon-Levitt's previous writing work. I'm not sure how much he's done in the past. But because he's starring in this, I have Apple TV Plus, luckily. Ted Lasso, as you guys know, is one of our favorite shows, and I need to catch up on season 2, actually, speaking of that. But Apple TV has had some really solid shows, so put Joseph Gordon-Levitt in there, and that is a really easy sell for me. So that's going to be coming out this Friday to Apple TV Plus. The last show that's coming out this
is
week
a reality TV show starring Paris Hilton where she makes swords. It's called Hilt on Steel.
That's next week, actually. We'll definitely keep you guys in the loop about that. The last show is coming to Showtime this Friday, and this is a 4-part docuseries from J.J. Abrams' Bad Robot called UFO. So this explores our fascination with unidentified flying objects and what clandestine influence the American government, lucrative private companies, and the military may have in shielding the truth behind extraterrestrial phenomena to further their own agendas.
Brian, did you produce this show? Are you an executive
I'm also
producer?
a associate producer on this. No, we covered Close Encounters of the Third Kind recently. I also read a book about this phenomena relatively recently, and the fact that J.J. Abrams was tied to this. This could be good. I'm not sure. I don't have Showtime, so definitely listeners, let me know if you guys check this out and how it is. But yeah, I feel like this could be good. So that's UFO.
I think we're accidentally paying for Showtime through Hulu. Like one of those extended channels. Maybe if it'll fall on me. I'm the wrong person though.
Not really the main audience for it.
I'm not. But maybe I have to do you a solid and like watch it and be like, Brian, you gotta subscribe to Showtime.
I was subscribed for a bit for Jesus and Marrow, but I haven't hopped back on. So maybe I will. Maybe I will for this. So that's UFO coming to Showtime this Friday. Moving into some movies that are coming out this week. The long-awaited James Gunn written and directed The Suicide Squad. So this stars Margot Robbie, Idris Elba, John Cena, Joel Kinnaman, Sylvester Stallone, Viola Davis, Jai Courtney, and Peter Capaldi. For those of you who don't know about the Suicide Squad, the idea is basically the government essentially forces criminals to fight and do missions for them at risk of being blown up or killed immediately if they go against their orders. So, relatively loose concept and notoriously poorly received first attempt at making a movie for DC. This movie looks really good, and from the reviews coming out so far, it looks like critics are enjoying it. I have high hopes for this. James Gunn in the comic book space has done a lot of fun movies. He hasn't done a bad movie yet in comics, so I have high hopes for this.
It's also,
and,
it goes to show, like, from doing this podcast a lot and a lot of the discourse, with so many remakes, reboots, adaptations, the conversation immediately starts with directly comparing it to the most famous or most recent work. And I'm sure this movie is good, but it only has to be not bad for it to be a success. You're playing with a deck full of aces. Not to discredit anything happening, but the conversation is inevitably just going to be, man, that last movie was such trash. This was kind of fun, So all of our glasses are rose tinted. I'm curious to get into it, just because with that perspective in mind, I think everybody's going to enjoy it.
Yeah, there's a low bar, so it'll probably hop over it. So that's the Suicide Squad that will be in theaters and streaming on HBO Max day and date this Friday, which is really exciting. The next movie that'll be on Prime Video this Friday is called Val. So this is directed and produced by Leo Scott and Ting Pu and follows the life and career of actor Val Kilmer, largely through things that he shot himself throughout the course of his life. So this is something where this footage has apparently been sitting around for a long time. And once Val Kilmer was diagnosed with, excuse me, let me get this right.
It's throat cancer, right?
Yes, he was diagnosed with throat cancer and began losing his voice, at which point he decided to tell this story. So in this movie, his son, Jack Kilmer, narrates it for him. This thing looks like it's going to be absolutely heartbreaking. Val Kilmer, I've never been a diehard Val Kilmer fan, but I'm trying to think of the Shane Black movie that we covered.
He's got, we covered Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, right? Yeah, which he's great in.
He's amazing. And I mean, he has a couple of people may know he played Batman for like one movie, but he also has a great role, like classic role in Tombstone. If you haven't seen that, he also plays Jim Morrison in the Doors movie.
That's right.
He's got a lot of good touchstones.
Oliver Stone.
Yeah. So I've always been a big fan of Val Kilmer in the stuff that he's good in. And watching this trailer, I'm like, oh, you're gonna cry. You're gonna.
Yeah, the tears will flow in this one.
It's a man looking back at his life, right? And he's a actor in one way or another that's probably you've seen or familiar with. I mean, he's a big movie star for the last 20 years. And just seeing the way he's putting his life into perspective and summing it up. I mean, it's essentially like a video documentary of his journal through his life, which has hit recent tragedy, where it really seems to have really developed pretty quickly. Because I know it was like, where's Val Kilmer been for like the last 5 years? And then I saw a TikTok that he was on. I was like, oh, he doesn't look well. I hope he's okay. Like, thinking maybe he's just like, because he went through a period of like intense weight gain, and so. I was like, oh, I wonder if drugs or something, because he just looked really, really like he had aged really quickly. And then from this documentary, coming to find out that he has throat cancer, so sad. This is so terrible.
Yeah, so I'm sure one or multiple of us will be watching that, and that's going to be worthwhile from everything I've heard. That's Val. That's coming to Amazon Prime Video this Friday. So the last movie that's coming out, this movie, the description of this, I feel like you're either in for it or you're not. The film tells the story of a capuchin monkey who travels from Cuba to Miami to become a star of the stage. And it stars Lin-Manuel Miranda. So this is a musical that stars a performing capuchin monkey. And, if you're into animated movies, you're going to watch this movie. This is called Vivo. It's directed by Kirk D'Amico, with a screenplay by Lin-Manuel Miranda, Kirk D'Amico, and Chiara Alegria Hudez. The music was composed by Lin-Manuel Miranda and Alex Lackamore, and it stars Lin-Manuel Miranda, as well as Zoe Saldana, Michael Rooker, Brian Tyree Henry, Nicole Byer, Gloria Estefan, and more. And yeah, this movie is coming to Netflix this Friday. So very much a kid's movie. Lin-Manuel Miranda having a absolute bursting of content from stuff he's either written
from
or
all the people that
adapted.
will give him money from having the most successful musical in the last 20 years. Yeah.
And he's definitely capitalized off of it.
Do you think Vivo is going to have any socio-political statements to make about Cuba and the relationship the Cuban people have with their government, as well as the Cuban government with the United States?
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say very little, if any, of that. But maybe what we can guarantee is if it does try and do that, Twitter will find a way to take it down and force him to apologize. So that's Vivo. That'll be out this Friday on Netflix. And that's it for the news this week.
Brian, wacky news as per usual. YouTube watchers, thank you so much for visiting us. Hit that, smash that subscribe, hit that little bell icon so you get notified of any new content. We got our Throwback Thursday episodes, which is old, audio versions that hit YouTube of our old content. If you want to check that out to catch out older episodes and see how we have grown as a podcast, and maybe you'll see some content that you love or something you recently watched and want to check up on that. You can also subscribe to our audio feed to get the rest of this episode, as well as all of our new episodes, no matter whether or not we have a video or not. And that is down below through our link tree. And you can find us on all the social media and all that stuff. Brian, where can people find more of your work on the internet?
You can find me over on Twitter at True Pop-O-Holic for varied and random dad jokes that probably won't make sense to anyone but myself, but I have a good time with them.
What can you say? I'm a capuchin monkey. I really, if I see Vivo, I want him to go like, I don't know what you want from me. I'm a capuchin monkey. I don't know why. That's sticking in my brain. My band, Midnight Satire, you can find that on Apple Music. That's why I wore this shirt. This is
nice.
Or on Spotify, as well as Bandcamp and all that. Search for @Midnight Satire. I also have a social media. I occasionally post a band name joke. I think that's my shtick. I need to get back on that. Anyway, so we're going to continue for our audio listeners only. YouTube watchers, go find us on your favorite podcast streamer of